Welcome to the HuttoTransparency.org videocast. Today, our explainer is going to focus on a concept that literally affects every single property owner and resident, yet it almost always happens entirely out of sight. We're going to explore what some analysts suggest is a local municipal finance shell game. Specifically, we'll be breaking down how city leadership uses a concept known as the no new revenue tax rate to claim they're protecting taxpayers, all while simultaneously bearing the city in nearly $1 billion of hidden debt. Now, I know that sounds like a really heavy topic, but we're going to break it all down using official data so you can understand exactly how this works behind the scenes.
So here lies a core mystery. It's what we might call the taxpayer illusion. If you attend city council meetings or read the mailers that get sent to your house, you'll often hear politicians bragging that they haven't raised your property tax rate. They might even say they've slightly lowered it. And, well, when you look at the raw rate, they are technically telling the truth. But at the exact same time, the city's total municipal debt is absolutely skyrocketing. So the big question we have to answer today is, how does a city claim a flat tax rate while quietly piling up almost $1 billion in debt obligations? To really understand how this mechanism works, we have to understand the rule that makes it all possible.
It all starts with the no new revenue tax rate, or NNR for short. By Texas law, the NNR is defined very objectively. It's the exact tax rate that would produce the same amount of revenue in the current year as was generated in the previous year, from the properties that were taxed in both years. Essentially, if existing property values go up, the tax rate is supposed to adjust down. That way, the city doesn't just get a hidden windfall just because your home appreciated in value. When a city adopts the NNR rate, they can technically claim they aren't raising your taxes. They're following the strict letter of the law. But, as with pretty much all financial regulations, there's a major catch.
And that catch is the new construction loophole. You see, the no new revenue calculation has a massive exception built right into state law. It strictly excludes new construction from the limit. Think about a rapidly growing city like Hutto. Every single time a new neighborhood is built or a new commercial center opens up, it generates millions of dollars in brand new property tax revenue. Because this new construction is excluded from the NNR calculation, the city can collect all of this massive new revenue while keeping their base rate perfectly flat on paper. They haven't broken the no new revenue ceiling, but the total cash flowing into the city's coffers is secretly spiking year after year. That right there is the engine driving the illusion.
So, the city has all this new revenue capacity, but how do they actually fund massive, expensive new projects without breaking that NNR ceiling or asking for a tax hike? Well, they use debt. But not all debt is created equal. There are two main categories we need to look at. First, we have general obligation bonds, or GO bonds. These are backed directly by your property taxes, and by law, they require a direct citizen vote. You, the taxpayer, actually have to approve them at the ballot box. On the flip side, we have certificates of obligation, or COs, and revenue bonds. Because these don't require a citizen vote and are authorized directly by the city council, critics often refer to them as a city's secret credit cards. And crucially, they're often designed to be repaid through your monthly utility bills, like your water and wastewater, instead of your property taxes.
To see how this plays out in reality, we can look directly at Hutto's official fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. Under the outstanding debt obligation category, the exact strategy we just discussed is laid out in black and white. It categorizes the debt into property tax supported and self-supporting debt. This is the city's own accounting of where the financial burden actually lies, clearly separating the debt voted on by the public from the debt that's managed through alternative revenues.
Breaking those official budget numbers down reveals the true result of heavily relying on this strategy. There's a small 18.4% slice representing the property tax-supported debt. That's roughly $179.6 million. That is the kind of debt that voters usually have a say in approving. But then there's a massive 81.6% chunk. That is $794.8 million in self-supporting debt. This is the debt authorized largely without direct voter approval, hidden away in utility funds and paid for by you through utility rates, rather than the property tax rate that politicians love to talk about.
When you combine that property tax debt and the massive utility debt, you hit a truly staggering reality: $974,480,064. Hutto's total municipal debt is rapidly approaching $1 billion. By utilizing the no new revenue loophole and shifting the borrowing over to certificates of obligation and utility funds, the city has managed to rack up nearly $1 billion in obligations, all while maintaining the outward illusion of a flat, protective tax rate. Now, you might be asking yourself right about now, is almost $1 billion in debt normal for a city our size? To answer that, we just have to look at our neighbors. Stripping away all the financial jargon lays out the hard facts. Look at Round Rock.
They have a massive population of over 141,000 residents, yet they carry only $522.1 million in direct municipal debt. Georgetown is also significantly larger than Hutto, but carries just $442.3 million in city debt. Taylor, which is comparable or even slightly smaller than Hutto, carries just $150.5 million. Pflugerville is higher at $1.12 billion, but they also have a much larger population of 68,000. And then there's Hutto. With a population of only about 46,000 people, Hutto is carrying $9,744.4 million in debt. Hutto is an extreme outlier here. The city is roughly one-third the size of Round Rock, yet it is carrying nearly double the debt.
Which brings us to our conclusion. We've seen how the no new revenue rate creates a perfect illusion of fiscal restraint. We've seen how new construction fuels hidden revenue spikes. And we've seen how the bulk of Hutto's massive borrowing has been shifted far away from voter-approved property taxes and straight into utility-backed debt. So I want to leave you with this powerful question to ponder today. When politicians brag that they haven't raised your property tax rate, ask them to check the water bill. Are we really doing more with less, or are we just burying $1 billion of debt where we can't vote on it? Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the hard questions.